Welcome to Cloud on Air, live webinars from Google Cloud. We host webinars every Tuesday. My name is Paul Young, and today we'll be talking about power innovation for SAP with Google Cloud. You can ask questions anytime on the platform, and today we have Googlers, SAPers, and customers on standby to answer them, so ask away. So let's get started. As discussed, Paul Young, I'm the go-to-market director for SAP at Google Cloud. You'll hear plenty from me, so let's move on to the people that matter. Next to me is Isabel Petzel, Global Vice President of SAP Cloud Platform Go-to-Market. How do you even fit that on a business card? I won't ask. We'll just move on from there. Extra wide business cards for your job titles. Subject of the day, first of all, is the SAP and Google Cloud partnership, especially around SAP Cloud Platform, but in general too. Secondly, we have a customer perspective with Metro, which is great. Axel Coase from Metro will be talking about their deployment and their decision criteria and how they're doing, which is fantastic content. And then lastly, we'll have a conversation about running SAP on Google Cloud and the things we're doing to make Google Cloud the best place possible to run SAP. And at the end of that, hopefully we'll have time to fit in some questions and answers as well. So all that said, let's get started with topic one. Welcome, Isabel.
Thank you, Paul.
So you want to introduce yourself to the people watching?
Absolutely. Isabel Petzold. I run the Global Centers of Expertise for SAP Cloud Platform. That's why the name is so long. So I work a lot with customers around the globe and in helping them in their transition, their core enterprise application into the cloud.
Great. Thank you for coming along. And you're a long-time SAP person, right?
60 plus years, still running strong.
That's good. Always good. So what's top of mind? What's the challenges that SAP customers have?
Right. So what customers are really challenged about today is fundamentally different than what happened in the last few decades and what SAP traditionally was focused on, really about standardizing, optimizing core business processes. But today, customers are really forced to innovate and differentiate themselves with disruptive business models, with complete new customer experiences, also giving employees more purpose in their work, where they leverage a lot of technologies and data to really solve those challenges. And what we see in the most successful companies, what they are doing, they are adopting new technologies and leveraging data very quickly. And that is what is delivering really game-changing outcomes for them. Because first, they achieve a step change in productivity by applying technologies like machine learning, like artificial intelligence to those core business processes to automate them, to make them more efficient. Second, they also redefine the customer experience, because it's not only about anymore responding to customer needs, it is about predicting what customers want and create that satisfaction before the customers even know it. And third, it's really about transforming their employee engagement, because employees want to have more purpose from work. They automate certain tasks so employees can really focus on higher level value-adding activities and tasks to really move the company forward. And that is what we really talk about and what we mean with intelligent enterprises, because customers today are hungry for innovation to differentiate themselves.
Great, I get it. I hear the intelligent enterprise conversation a lot, and I think that's a really powerful way to explain it, right? It's not just about analytics, about one thing, it is about that complete package for the customer.
Exactly.
Very cool. So what's SAP doing to deliver against those challenges, I guess?
A lot.
Great idea. Well, now what do we do to fix it?
Exactly,
right?
Great idea. So as said, customers are really forced to differentiate, but they want to build that innovation on a solid, trusted environment that on the one hand side gives them the flexibility, but at the other hand side still has that robustness and security to run their core applications, because that is what customers love and trust about SAP, running that solid core. And that is where also SAP has that process heritage. But now customers really want to build new functionality on top of those core processes to really differentiate themselves. Look what happened last week with Cyber Monday, where everyone went crazy here in the US shopping, where retailers actually launched a very specific set of functionality on their digital platforms to create a new customer experience, to launch specific promotions, to engage differently with customers to boost up sales. You don't want to build those extensions that only are there for a week or two into your core business applications. You want to build them side by side on a platform, also utilizing latest technologies like machine learning and so on to create that experience. And that is what SAP both delivers. On the one hand side, a solid packaged applications for the core business processes and a platform to deliver and build those innovations on top, and everything in a single environment.
Very cool. So I spent a long time as a customer of SAP, actually running SAP systems. I spent a long time with SAP. I'll tell you, the point where I came over to Google Cloud, the thing that amazed me was day 3, I walked in a room where there were 20 engineers working on a single joint project, right? Amazing alignment and investment between Google and SAP to deliver something that's much more than just, hey, you can run SAP on Google Cloud hardware, right? So do you want to talk quickly on your perspective on how Google Cloud and SAP are working together to take this far beyond just, hey, another place you can run SAP in the cloud?
Absolutely. I think the partnership between Google is fundamental and a game changer, because together we are helping our customers in their mission to succeed in the digital transformation. Because I think there are 2 fundamental things that the teams have delivered. First, they really created, as you just said, a fantastic place to run SAP applications on top of Google Cloud, by really optimizing SAP apps to run on Google Cloud, but also optimize Google Cloud to run SAP apps. So those engineering initiatives are happening on both sides for the maximum efficiency and scale. So look what we've done with the virtual machines for HANA, starting with a few terabytes, and now you can deploy 16, 18 terabytes at the snap of a finger. So that was really the one piece to create the best place to run SAP applications. But what is even more game-changing, as we spoke before, customers want to build new functionality. They want to use latest technology, and that is why that move, having SAP Cloud Platform run on Google Cloud, was a fundamental game changer, because now customers can consume cutting-edge technologies from Google, be it machine learning, be it TensorFlow models, and really apply and infuse them into the core processes of SAP and building those differentiating innovations right out of the box. So we do all the plumbing for them. They can really focus on building the innovation. And that is what really builds those intelligent enterprises.
It's incredibly cool. If you follow through as well, I think this is the other part where Google fits in the world is that if you look at the sort of advanced standards we're looking at, we're also a provider of data sets, right? Mm-hmm. You look at stuff just in Cloud for Marketing, where we have the live analysis of how customers' advertising is running, how people are responding to it, right? The ability to through Cloud Platform, join that through and just power at a level of granularity and a level of detail and a level of execution that's just never been achievable before, right? That's much, much more than just a place to run SAP in the cloud, right?
Exactly.
So very cool. So your favorite subject, Cloud Platform, obviously fits into this. Give us the drill in. How does Cloud Platform bind all of this together?
Absolutely. Cloud Platform is almost the glue. That's the centerpiece of the
Not
entire
that you're
thing, right? No, because customers really, on the one hand side, they need those business services, they need those processes, and they need the innovation or the infrastructure technology services from Google Cloud to really extend their core processes in the SAP applications with those technologies, and really combine, as you just said, combine transactional data with other sources that come from Google, from wherever in the world, to really change the customer experience and really deliver those disruptive business models. But they want to do that on a platform in parallel to their core systems. So Cloud Platform almost becomes the bridge between their packaged apps and their innovation platform, the bridge between on-premise and cloud application, because it's a stepwise move, because customers are moving massive enterprise workloads into the cloud. So, and they want to do that at their own pace. And that is exactly what SAP Cloud Platform gives them. It's really the innovation layer in the cloud to build intelligent enterprise applications. And that is what is really the game changer in that partnership, that now SAP Cloud Platform, as the platform as a service offering from SAP, combined with the latest technologies from Google to extend those core business processes while still keeping the integrity while customers build those innovations. And this platform now runs on Google Cloud, so that's a game changer for our customers to build innovation.
It's a really big conversation. I mean, it's fascinating actually recently how we've seen the huge uptake in demand. Whereas customers start to plan their S4 journeys and start to bring S4 over. It's not just, hey, lift and shift, right? It's not just pick it up and drop it. That they want to improve, they want to enhance, they want to do more. And Cloud Platform's how you unlock that, right? And again, the objective is to make it run here, hopefully better than anywhere.
Exactly.
To allow that. So to that subject, what happens then? So customer comes here, they have SAP running inside Google Cloud, they have Google Cloud and SaaS, they have cloud platform. What does that do to unlock the intelligent enterprise?
Right. For that, you need to look at how SAP delivers innovation, or how we deliver innovation to our customers. On the one hand side, in the digital core, we update that once, twice a year. And our cloud applications for the different LOBs, we deliver innovations about once a quarter. So, and any customer gets that functionality. So they do not really differentiate themselves through those packaged applications. So, and that is probably also not the speed that customers really desire when they want to build those competitive, disruptive new business models, because they really want to innovate rapidly. They need iterations. Sometimes things work, don't work. So they need that flexibility on a platform to really reinvent their enterprise processes at their own pace and really build those differentiating sets of functionality on top of their packaged apps. And that is really key for the partnership, what we bring together to those customers, because we deliver that innovations on two levels. On the one hand side, on the infrastructure level, by bringing technologies to run enterprise applications from SAP on containers with Kubernetes, Knative, bring them really to enterprise readiness and scale. And on the other hand side, on the service level, where we allow customers to seamlessly consume infrastructure services from Google, be it machine learning, be it artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and really infuse that into our core business processes. Think about we just released those event triggers function as a service for our latest digital core S/4HANA. To give you an example, I'm German, I love cars, right? And I go now out on the Google parking lot and I take a nice picture from whatever car, we are not making any promotions here, and post that on my Twitter feed because it's a cool car. Then actually what the car companies are doing today, they're scanning the social feeds using image recognition to detect their cars, who has posted what about that car on the web, and they realize, this guy is interested or likes my car, why don't I send him an offer where he can configure his car, where he can basically submit an order, and ultimately I submit an order. Then throughout the production process, which takes a few weeks and is running, of course, on core solid SAP systems, producing hundreds and thousands of cars to really at scale, those function as a service now allow you that an event gets triggered when that car enters the painting facility. And then a picture is sent to the customer showing exactly his car in the production line, when the seats get in and so on. So that keeps the customer engaged through the entire process. And this is not happening, or you should not do that in your core applications, because you don't want to touch that. You have to produce those 200,000 cars. This is now what you can really develop on the platform, using services, image recognition, and so on from Google to really build that special functionality without disrupting your core. So it's no longer about, let's say, pure outcomes and processes. It is really about redefining the innovation cycle in your company by quickly building those innovations on top of a stable core.
Very cool. I think it also ties in, if we look back to the conversation, you mentioned Kubernetes and Knative, and that's really cool. But also, if you look at that investment we're making in virtual machines, right? So that conversation that says, hey, I have an idea and I want to develop that really quickly in cloud platform. I know I want to test it. Mm-hmm. So in history, if you have that 18 terabyte production system running inside HANA, where you've got to keep a spare 18 terabyte box around, right? Or you're going to try and run it on top of QA, and how do you manage all of that stuff? As opposed to our world where you can literally provision that server in 30 seconds. Yep. Take a replica of production, take a replica of QA, build the entire test environment you need, pay for it by the second. If it works, off to production. If it doesn't work, back to revision, right? Just, again, the combination of SAP and Google Cloud just unlocks potential that just isn't, everyone's dreamed of this, no one's been able to achieve it so far, right? And that point where I can just spin up copies of production, run testing, drop them again, it unlocks just massive potential. It's the future looks really cool, I have to say. So that's my opinion, I'm biased. So wrapping it up, what do customers take away from this? What's the call to action here?
Right, because customers, to be clear, they're making really big bets. Moving into the cloud causes a whole new set of questions, because especially in the enterprise, they're moving their holy grail, their core business applications into the cloud, and they're really infusing cutting edge technologies into their core processes, which is can be a nightmare, or customers are really scared to move that move. And that is exactly why customers need partners they can trust. They need partners that understand the enterprise, and they need partners that can grow with them. And that's exactly the reason for this partnership, why SAP and Google came together, because only together we can make sure to have our customers move with confidence into the cloud, to allow them to rapidly innovate and experiment without risk, building those new functionalities, leveraging those new cutting-edge technologies, while still running a stable core. And that is what customers want. They want to innovate fast, they want to be agile, they want to build all of that on a trusted platform to evolve their business. And that is exactly what we together can deliver them.
I think it's really fascinating. I did a recording for a partner recently where I said, you know, if you look, especially right now, the customers are looking at upgrading to S4 and doing everything else. A lot of this is, it's a commitment almost like a marriage, right?
Yeah.
You're making a long-term commitment. And so you have to trust and you have to believe in everyone in it, right? And
exactly.
You have to believe that it gets you, you know, what you want in the end. I think it's, again, the brand of SAP, the brand of Google, what we deliver to our customers combined is something quite remarkable,
exactly.
especially in this scenario. Really thank you for the time today.
You're welcome, Paul.
Hang around. I know you're going to sneak off and answer some questions in the Q&A
will.
and come back later and we'll take some live. But really appreciate the time. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, great game here. So separately, great for us to talk about the theory, but let's make it real. So what we have right at this point is some content from Axel Koos at Metro. So 4 weeks ago, Metro stood up at Next London. I think it was about 4 weeks. The weeks all blend together on my travel schedule right now. Anyway, recently Metro stood up at Next London and talked about how they're moving their SAP environment to Google Cloud. Amazing project. This isn't just, again, lift and shift. There are 100 SAP systems. He'll tell you himself they intend to consolidate down to one S4 system. That's a pretty significant effort, and there's reasons why they chose Google Cloud to do that. And Google Cloud is their platform, and I'll let Axel tell you what those are.
I'm Axel Koss from Metronome. Metronome is the tech company of Metro. Metro is one of the biggest B2B wholesaler worldwide. We have business in 35 countries, 150,000 colleagues and 21 million customers. Our goal, means Metro goal, is very clear: to bring the food and hospitality sector on a new level by providing digital solutions for their business. The challenges are coming from different kind of stakeholder, internal as well external. If I have a look first on the internal stakeholder, for example, the accounting departments, they would like to close their books much faster as they are able to do it today. On the other side, controlling would like to get most likely a real-time insight into our figures to make the right proposals for the management to make the right decisions afterwards. And then we are coming to the external stakeholder. For example, our investors, they would like to get a much better understanding of our businesses. And the most important topic is here for sure our B2B wholesale customer. They are asking for more and more digital services, for sure, most likely in the e-commerce area. But nevertheless, they're also asking for much more services in the finance area. Here we already provide some services like e-invoice. To make this happen, we were searching for the right infrastructure and the right ERP system. We found them with SAP for HANA and Google Cloud Platform. First of all, I would like to mention that we already have business on Google Cloud Platform, most likely in the e-commerce I mentioned before. This is an important part of our omni-channel strategy. Nevertheless, we spoke with the Google who are involved already in the e-commerce area, but also we discussed this topic with our colleagues by Google. Based on this, we really decided to make this move. I really would like to point out that from day one on, we had a very good partnership. That means, for me at least, we are equal partners. We are open-minded and we are very focused to make things happen. For sure, upfront, we had also a look on the market to look for other alternatives. But nevertheless, I really would like to make the same decision today once again. First of all, allow me to explain what consolidation here means for Metronome. This means we, SAP, Google and Metronome join forces to realize our clear objective, to streamline our SAP finance landscape from around 100 to one system. Sound ambitions? Yes, you are completely right. But nevertheless, this is our goal. To make this happen, we will using first Google Cloud Platform. Second, SAP S/4HANA Finance as our core system running on Google Cloud Platform. C, SAP Cloud Platform if we need any kind of developments, also running on Google Cloud. What we can see so far, it's really working as planned. And if you open such boxes, you get a real wow effect in your teams. Why? You see a lot of different opportunities you can use in the cloud services. But stay focused. Otherwise, it can really happen that you cannot see the wood for the trees. We use our objective and key result process. That means the outcome was a clear action item plan. Based on this, everybody in the teams know exactly what to be done. We defined it so clear because SAP S/4HANA in combination with Google Cloud Platform and SAP Cloud Platform give us, as I mentioned already, a lot of different opportunities. But coming back to our teams, key success is change management. Why? Keep in mind, everybody has to work in the future with SAP S/4HANA in the teams. They are working on a complete new infrastructure and they see a lot of opportunities in respect of cloud services. This is, at least for us, in the IT, but as well in the business, a big challenge. Everybody is highly engaged and everybody is seeing a clear advantage of this journey. Very clear, go out and try it. Build up your own environment on Google Cloud Platform and SAP Cloud Platform. Define your own user stories you would like to start with. I wish you good luck by this.
So thanks to Axel for that discussion. Really appreciate having Metro as a customer. Really appreciate them contributing to this. And he continues to contribute. He's live in the Q&A right now if you want to ask him questions. And please do. Always the best input when I was a customer came from other customers, and today's no exception. So with that, my task of the day is to introduce you to why we think running SAP in Google Cloud is better than anywhere else and what we're doing in order to try and make it the best place to run SAP in the cloud. So let's start with one slide, my favorite slide of them all. This slide basically is describing to you the SAP HANA virtual machines we have available, and that part of this conversation where I say virtual machine is the most important, right? Everybody else in this market is still largely bare metal. No one else has a virtual machine server above 6 terabytes. That roadmap says we will have virtual machines of 12 and 18 terabytes in next year. And we already have in the light green box that we'll come back to a 7 terabyte VM available to customers to demonstrate that it's possible. That becomes really important in this conversation because if you go back in history, from launch of R3, there has been a way that customers procure and buy the equipment that they run SAP on, right? Back in the day, there's a tool called QuickSizer that's still used, where the customers come through and as they want to roll out a project, they have to estimate forwards what their largest hour will be in the next 3 years. So let's say you're a retailer. That's not hard to guess. That's probably ADM, Black Friday in 2022 at this point after deployment. Good luck, however, guessing what that deployment, what that sizing is, right? And it ultimately is a guess. There's a point where you can size to a point, but then you have to estimate growth. You have to estimate change in software. And so customers tend to buy a huge amount of equipment in hope that 3 years from now they're sized to fit. And if they don't buy enough, they have a huge problem because they basically have to trash what they have and buy again. If they buy too little, if they buy too much, then they've just wasted money and no one wants to waste money. And so the ultimate answer to that is not to do that, right? Because we really can't predict the future. 3 years from now is a long time away, and how are we going to get to that number predictably? We're not. We never have. It's always been a guess. I think the challenge for me is as we migrated to the cloud and as cloud providers came online, a lot of them just replicated that hardware model directly in the cloud. So they came along and they said, you have to do a 3-year sizing. You have to tell me how big you're going to be in 3 years. You have to sign a 3-year contract. That's not what the cloud's supposed to be about, right? That's not how this is supposed to work. And so at Google Cloud, we've approached SAP radically differently. We build our own servers. We build our own virtual machines. We build them from scratch, and we do that for a reason. And the reason is exactly this, that you fundamentally, when you come to us, I don't need to know how big you're going to be in 3 years because you don't really know how big you're going to be in 3 years. I just need to know how big you are now. You can deploy in that equipment. And then as you get bigger, as you grow, as you change over time, you have the ability just to step up through that rank because they're all reconfigurable, right? What that does is that allows me to take a lot of the risk that exists in your current environment, in sizing and provisioning, a lot of things that prevent you going forwards because you have to try and get to a 3-year scope that's relatively fixed and a sizing that's relatively fixed. I allow you to take all of that and put it to the side. And what you're left with is an environment where you can deploy it the size you are now and grow at the speed you want to grow at. No one's done that before, right? And that unlocks huge amounts of potential in your SAP environment as you grow and you want to change. So coupled with that, a couple of things on this conversation. So first of all, right now there's the 4 terabyte HANA instance, the UltraMem 160 that's available to all customers, also available in scale out. That's been available since June, doing incredibly well. This box here is really interesting. The 7 terabyte HANA server, that is the Optane server. So that's the first Cascade Lake server in the cloud. That's the first Optane memory server in the cloud. It's an amazing box. SAP published its own statistics where that HANA server boots 12 times faster than any HANA server that's come before it, right? Uptime matters in this world, especially in SAP, right? If your entire business, if your retail stores, if your factories, if your manufacturing plants, whatever they are, if they require SAP to be online, uptime matters, and that server boots 12 times faster when you have to patch it and restart it. That's a really big deal. In turn, we haven't published any performance stats for it yet, but it's the first Cascade Lake server in the cloud, right? We're making huge investments to get to be the highest performing, the most reliable environment we can get it to be in order to deliver that outcome to you as a customer. Likewise, the 12 and the 18 are in engineering to be available next year, and again, available on 30-second provisioning globally. So this is not, I tell you I need an 18 terabyte server for production and one for high availability and one for QA and one for test, and I pay upfront for them and they get delivered to me in 12 weeks and I'm stuck with those servers for the next 3 years. All of this fleet is available at 30-second provisioning globally. That ability to just click on a button and start a server and run it unlocks a huge amount of potential in SAP world that we've never seen before. So that on its own is interesting, but we're not stopping there. The other part I'll give you is a Google tool called live migration. So again, if uptime matters to you, then what's the best we can do in keeping SAP servers up as long as possible? So one of the challenges is patching, right? So earlier in the year, obviously there was another round of Intel patches that came out for security. Every other provider on the planet, when that press release went out on a Tuesday, informed all of their customers that they had 72 hours to take an unscheduled outage and patch the systems. Now, in the world of SAP, that's not a simple task, right? Yeah, it's not just shutting down a single server, patching it and bringing it back again. You have giant clusters and environments of servers that are all interconnected where they all have to be shut down and they all have to be patched and they all have to be restarted. And you can lose hours and hours of work, and it's not insignificant amounts of money. We had a customer we talked to recently who are a $10 billion manufacturer, and the answer is the servers can't, the manufacturing plants can't run if the servers are not online from SAP. So literally, the point where you get a patch through that says, well, you have to patch this within the next 72 hours, you're now going to take an unscheduled outage, which is going to result in 3 or 4 hours of downtime where the entire company has to shut down while it's being patched. In this case, $10 billion a year manufacturer, it's $1 million an hour. An unscheduled patch is going to cost them $4 million straight away. So there has to be a better way, right? There has to be a way to solve this problem, and Google has a way to solve that problem. We have a tool called live migration. Again, all of our servers are VMs. What happens ultimately is the point where a patch is released, you don't have to shut down your servers. You don't have to do anything at all. If you leave a flag on in the VM that says Google is allowed to patch them, what happens is we will create a second parallel server to the same configuration of the first. We'll pre-patch it with the patches that are required. We'll sync the server across while it still runs, and we'll transition you to the patch server while the systems are fully operational. Zero downtime. And so again, you go back to that customer, that's $4 million saved every time there's a patch. That's a huge amount of money. We currently run over 3,000 SAP systems in Google Cloud. Every single one of them on the last round of patching went through this process, no issues. Just do the math on the amount of money we saved our customers that round and the amount of disruption we took out of the world. Unique to Google Cloud, right? And it's a really, really big deal. Again, it's a really big deal now in terms of what it can save you. It's a much bigger deal as a representation of the engineering work we're doing to not just be another place to run SAP, but to be a better place to run SAP. Coupled with that, let's come back to the theme of, do I really know what the future looks like, right? Do I really know what I need? So again, at this point, pretty much everyone else in this marketplace is currently requiring you to contract to specific sizes of servers. So you come in and say, look, I need, I think 3 years from now, I'm going to need a 12 terabyte server. Then you have to procure right now a 12 terabyte server. So if in the meantime you need 6 2 terabyte servers to get to the 12 terabyte server, you've got to contract for all of that fundamentally. There's ways around that, but generally you're going to contract for more than you need and you're locked into what you give. What Google Cloud does is different. Because they're all VM-based, because we engineer our own servers, you don't have to commit to specific sizes. You commit to a capacity. And that's what you're looking at here. At some point, I really do need to get a shot of the GUI instead of the command line. But if you're command line based, you'll like this. Basically, it's a command line where what we're doing is we're committing to 15,360 gigabytes of HANA memory inside Europe West 3. Once you've committed to that, we'll bill you for it monthly as you consume it and use it. However, you can configure it however you want it to be configured. So let's say you needed 12 terabytes as an example, right? You can start with 12 ones. You can move to 6 ones and 3 twos. You can move to 3 fours. You can configure it however you want to configure that as you go and as your project changes, right? Never been done before. But what it does is it unlocks you from that false challenge you've had in the past of having to know what size you'll be in 3 years and you carrying all the risk. Now you have the absolute flexibility to configure and move your commitments as you need them in order to deliver against a world that's very hard to predict. And again, that's a huge risk that you take as an SAP customer that you no longer have to take. We will carry that for you. We'll help you manage that risk. Really, really big deal. And same, we get a lot of conversation, for instance, with retailers as an example, where they have 6, 8 busy weeks in a year. And so right now, what they have to do is commit to the hardware they're going to need for a single hour 3 years from now, whereas instead they can commit to what they need every day to run, and then they can actually just buy the excess capacity that they need for those 6 weeks every year. Right? It's a vastly more efficient way to run SAP. It's a vastly more cost-effective way to run SAP, and it unlocks huge potential. Right? Again, we talked about this earlier with the SAP Cloud Platform scenario, but if you need a copy of production, you need a copy of QA in order to run a test. You don't have to have a box laying around to do that you don't run. You just snap up a copy in 30 seconds, consume it from your commit if you have availability. If you don't, you can pay for it by the second. It's there, it works, it runs, and then when you're done with it, drop it again. Flexibility has never been achieved before, and it will change how SAP is run. And however, it's new to the market, and it will take time for people to understand it. But once they understand it, and I think you see from Metro, customers are starting to understand that. It will make a huge difference, right? It will change how SAP is run. But that's never enough, right? As I said before, I was a customer. This is not enough just to have hardware available on demand and everything else. You've got to be able to do more, right? Generally, the upgrade to S4 is fine, but generally you always want to have a better business outcome, not just a technical upgrade achieved. So again, Google's stepping in here in order to try and help you get to a better business outcome. So just one example of that, I'll give you a couple, but one example of that is SAP HANA with BigQuery. So March 20th of this year, we announced integration with HANA and BigQuery. Really big deal. So inside HANA, so for those of you who don't know what BigQuery is, if you're SAP customers, you're not that aware of Google, BigQuery is our data warehousing in the cloud solution, for want of a better answer. Can handle petabyte levels of data at insane performance levels. So you can take huge amounts of data and put it in BigQuery and do analysis. So that's great. However, you want to put it to practical use case. So again, without resorting always to retail examples, right now we have a very, very large retailer who's a customer of SAP with HANA and a customer of Google with BigQuery. So the SAP data is streaming in live from the retail stores inside HANA. All the other data that they have is sitting inside Google BigQuery. What we released is the Smart Data Access Connector. Technically what SAP released is the Smart Data Access Connector for BigQuery. When you log into SAP HANA, you can see the data model for SAP HANA and you can see the data model for Google BigQuery. You can join both data sets together in a query and execute a query directly in real time and get a real-time result back from both of those analysis tools. So incredibly simple for the end user to work with. But what it does is it unlocks tremendous opportunities here. So one more example in the retail space, but we will load Cloud for Marketing data into Google BigQuery for you. So anonymized data sets that have you're currently running advertising campaigns get loaded into Google BigQuery. Inside SAP HANA, we have real-time inventory in the stores. And at the simplest level, we can join both together and come back and say, hey, you know you are advertising product in this region that you don't actually have available at the retail store. We think you should move to a different advertising strategy. That's a simple example. As a more complicated example, we have a retailer recently who got on stage and talked about how we've done some incredibly cool work for them, where we're actually scanning fashion images in magazines and from other sources, determining colors and styles that it can see, that the image analysis tools can see in the magazine, and then going back to SAP and joining that data up into SAP and saying, what do we have at the retail store that's in this color palette, that's in this style match? Because these are things that we believe people will come in and buy, right? And that's what we should promote. That's what we should maintain pricing on. Huge opportunities here from being able to join the SAP tooling with the native cloud tooling that Google Cloud has and the data sets that Google Cloud has in order to get to a far better result. Right? And again, that's our value here. This isn't just, hey, here's another place to run SAP in the cloud. This is how do we deliver something much more to you? How do we help you get much more value from your SAP asset and get to the business result and the business outcome you want to get to? Lastly, one of my favorite things, robotics. So at TechEd Barcelona and TechEd Las Vegas, we had one of these things on the floor. It's a Mir lifter shifter. So we don't own Mir, it's a private company. It's independent of us, I should say. But what we do is we attempt to make Mir better and better for our customers. So contained within the Mir robot, there's a communications package that talks back to Google Cloud. So whereas right now you may want to automate your warehousing, as example, if you may want to automate part of your distribution network and you want to do that with robotics, that's hard, right? By the time you pick a robotics provider, you buy the networking, you wire it all up, you try and integrate that back to SAP to get maximum efficiency. That is a huge consulting project, right? And a lot of technical work with networking and everything else. With the cloud package from Google, what it will do basically is Mir will automatically connect to Google Cloud. And what we're working on is basically that inside SAP S/4HANA, you register the robots that you have, they automatically connect across, and then all you do is issue a goods movement inside S/4HANA, and the robot will automatically dispatch itself off, grab the shelving or grab the package that you want and bring it back to the person that you need at your packing station to do the packing, right? That's far beyond, again, just running SAP on someone else's servers, right? This is really working towards the future, right? We all understand that robotics are coming. To be able to do it that easily and to be able to improve your business at that level of efficiency is something that makes us radically different, right? And again, that's part of the work we're doing with SAP to deliver, something far beyond just the same SAP running somewhere else. So that bit's cool, right? Being able to run SAP or integrate your robotic package back to SAP and have it go grab things for you is cool. Let's go one more, however. This is Google. We don't do things small. So embedded in the robot is a lens package. As it drives around your distribution center, it can read the shelves. It can see what's on them. It can identify what's there. What you're seeing as the graphic comes around here is it will identify boxes that are sitting on the shelf. And then it will identify individual boxes, and it can read barcodes, and it can read text, and it can tell you how much inventory there is in any given location. And it can communicate that back to SAP. So just picture that world. You have a set of robots you drop in your distribution center. They start to drive themselves around. They map out the distribution center themselves. They identify everything that's inside that distribution center. They communicate it back to SAP. And from there forwards, you have constantly running live updated inventory that's sitting in your distribution center. And that's just one small use case, but it's an incredible jump forwards. And just a representation of the sort of things we're working on with SAP to give you something that's just vastly more than anyone's attempted to do before or achieved at this level. So, thanks for your time. It's a very short summary. If you weren't aware, I can go on for a long time about this, and we'll happily come visit you and go on for a long time about all the things we're doing differently. That's just a really small snapshot of what we're doing. Stay tuned for the live Q&A. We'll be back in less than a minute to answer some of the questions you submitted. Welcome back. We're still taking questions in the Q&A chat, but we decided to take a couple out here just to answer them live. Isabel rejoins me. Thank you one more time. So quickly, question number one, how do you bridge from the work the team is doing with ABAP, as an example, into the cloud?
Right. That is exactly a fundamental step of the journey for our customers from on-premise applications into the cloud, because they have huge investments in their on-prem systems that they've built over decades. And now they want to have a move into the cloud at their own pace. So that is why they can utilize SAP Cloud Platform with all of the latest technologies by infusing those technologies into the core. And for example, ABAP developers, which are a very special species, and I know a lot of customers found that very funny when we announced that ABAP is not also available in the cloud. They can transfer that skill set to develop on SAP Cloud Platform, utilizing those technologies and help those developers really on their journey into the cloud, securing the investments. While at the same time, of course, they have the choice to develop on Cloud Platform in any language. So it's a whole new world to recruit also and leverage different development skill sets in the cloud.
I'm choking back laughter here because I started out as an ABAP developer. So after the camera is all off, I'll ask you what species exactly you think I am, because apparently I'm a special species, but there you go. Yeah, me and all the other ABAP developers right now. Secondly, however, the second question that came in is, we're starting with dev and test, production's a bigger challenge. What are you doing to make production deployments easier? I guess that one's mine.
I think so.
Good question. I mean, a lot in this space, we see customers who it's relatively easy to pull out your credit card and buy a little dev box and play with it and then move tests across. It's always a scenario. Production clearly is a much bigger challenge around security and networking and performance and all the stuff that comes with it. Key focus for us, right? I think if all any of us get is dev and test and customers don't actually move production, we don't make the final move. Couple of key things I would highlight for you, one of which is automatic configuration. Tremendous number of customers we talk to right now who, frankly, have a production server, don't have HA, don't have DR, and run at a huge risk. In our world, again, that's the sort of stuff that's hard to configure. As a DBA, a network engineer, you might configure that 3-4 times in your lifetime. It's really easy to do wrong and then have huge problems, right? So one of those examples really quickly is we have completely automated provisioning with a VM. So when you provision your SAP system in, you don't just say, hey, I want an SAP system, and I want an HA, and I want a DR, and I'm going to wire up all the network ports, I'm going to manage all of the configuration on the replicas. Completely automated provisioning. Pick a primary site, an HA site, a DR site, completely automated provisioning, which allows us to get to, with confidence, get to roll out of production workloads in Google Cloud. The other one I'll add quickly is we announced at TechEd Vegas is we're the first provider to have backend integration. Incredibly cool if you're backing up your SAP environments for production purposes. Instead of what currently happens where you take a disk snapshot and you then have to copy it to some other storage and you maybe try and replicate it to other places around the world, where you're responsible for copying files and hoping they don't get corrupted and everything along the way. Basically, backend backs up a blob storage of your HANA instance. You can replicate it multiple places around the world automatically using Google Cloud, and then we can recover that back into a fully functioning copy of your system in the event of an outage or something happening, typically in under an hour. Right? That sort of stuff allows us to again, the comparison isn't just, can I run what I have in the cloud? The comparison is, wait, if I have fully automated provisioning, I have HA, I have DR, I have backup integration, I have all of that stuff, I have a provably better environment, right? And so, we invested a lot of different levels. We've talked about this already, from all the way up in AI and ML to down at the straight operation. All of it has that purpose of making this the best place you could possibly run SAP and dealing with real problems that real customers have. Isabel, once again, thanks for the time. I think we're out of time here. I think we may be past time based on the signals I get. But anyway, Look, that's all for today. Really appreciate you spending the time with us and participating in the webinar. Separately, just a couple of highlights for you. Again, if you want more information about Google Cloud, cloud.google.com/SAP. Intelligent Enterprise is at sap.com/intelligent-enterprise. And then if you want more information on Metro, there's a short link here that I'm not even going to try to read. But you can click on and or type in and learn more about Metro. Really appreciate your time. We'll be back with another conversation about SAP soon. In the meantime, please tune in next Tuesday for the next Cloud on Air session. Thank you for watching.